Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Radiantly Feminine podcast, where we embrace elegance, confidence, and the power of true femininity. I'm your host, Mookie. So whether you're looking to refine your presence, elevate your mindset, or even navigate relationships with ease, this is going to be your space to grow and glow. So sit back, relax, and let's unlock your feminine power together. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Today's episode is called The Feminine Reset. Today we are going to be talking about releasing survival mode and returning to our soul power. And fun fact, that's also the name of our guest's incredible podcast. I'm super excited to have Urania here from The Feminine Reset. She's going to share her personal journey and practical ways we can step out of survival mode, reset our energy, and embrace strength through ease. Urania Nelom helps women move from survival mode into softness through nervous system regulation, feminine nourishment, and embodied living. Her work supports women in building lives and success without burnout by learning how to feel safe in their bodies. Urania, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much for this lovely introduction as well. I am doing great. I'm doing lovely. It's the end of the day here almost. So I'm getting really sitting comfortably here with a cup of tea.
Perfect. I love it. What type of tea are you having?
I am having green tea, one of my favorites, but with papaya in it as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I usually mix mine with mint, but that sounds really good.
Ooh, yeah. I love a good green tea. Absolutely. Very nourishing.
Nice. I love to hear it. Okay, so I want to go ahead and get right into the episode. For people that are less familiar with you or new to you, what would you like them to hear about you before getting into everything?
I think what would be nice to know is that I started out making more videos on femininity, so basically the aesthetics of being a woman. And in the last couple of years, I really changed that into helping women feel more feminine and shift more into softness. So it's a combination of both the outer and the inner work is what I've been doing right now.
Love it. And what inspired you to create your podcast, The Feminine Reset?
Well, what inspired me was myself, definitely. But that in order for me to help my community, which is what I'm doing, it's what I'm doing with my videos on YouTube and how I got started, I just felt that a lot of women were living their life in exhaustion and couldn't really put it into words. So these are women that are very successful and capable and strong. And those are the type of women that I tend to attract. But they were feeling very disconnected from their bodies and their emotions and their softness. And yeah, that was something that I also went through. And that's the reason why I got started.
Nice. Yeah, because that's something that resonated with me just from watching your content. I can't remember how I found you, but I know I found you on YouTube, and that's something that you helped me realize just by putting your content out there, was just realizing how I was living in autopilot and not really taking the time to slow down and check in with myself.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what it is? I think many of us, were never taught how to do it. We see people around us, our parents, our family, our friends, doing things in a certain way. And at one point something happens and we start looking for answers. And that's
Right.
how women find my video and how you found my video as well, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing about being a woman too, is just being really intuitive and just knowing that something's not right. So we take the time, once we realize that something's off with us, we take the time to, work on it and figure out how we can get back to feeling, normal, or establishing a new normal.
Exactly. Yeah, true. I think that has to do with the power that we have as women, that intuition, knowing that something feels off and maybe not knowing what it is exactly, but be willing to find the answers. I really think that awareness is always the first step when it comes to this.
Yes, I love it. Could you share a personal story about you realizing you were living in survival mode?
Yeah, absolutely. So For me, actually, how this all started and when I found out I was in survival mode was back in 2018. And that's actually before I started working and doing all of this. I don't remember at that point, I was going through so much in my life, career-wise, um, personally, just emotionally, relationships. So much was going on in my life. And I was actually in constant fight or flight. And at the time, I had no idea that what was going on. I just thought, well, I'm pushing through and pushing through. But because I was in a constant state of fight and flight, my nervous system never truly switched off. And I was living in a state of urgency and pressure. And eventually, what happened is that my body just responded with me getting a facial paralysis. And that, I believe, now was my nervous system's way of saying, okay, I have been overstimulated for way too long. I can't. And then everything just suddenly stopped. So I couldn't work anymore. I couldn't show up socially anymore. I was forced to slow down. And even though in the time it felt so horrible and I was just full of self-pity and didn't understand why it happened to me, I'm actually glad that that happened to me because that period really changed my life as it pushed me into softness. It really took me out of pressure and yeah, gently pushed me into softness, or actually not so gently. I was pushed into softness, if I liked it or not.
Right.
And in that period, I really had to learn to feel my emotions. I had to learn to listen to my body, and I had to learn to set boundaries. And I think that was the first time in my life I really needed to, I had the space to do these things. And that was also the time where I learned more about femininity and feminine energy. And yeah, I got introduced into this world.
I love it. That's such a powerful story. And I can relate to that in so many ways. Not the face paralysis way. I'm sorry that happened to you, but like you
Mhm.
said, it's something that happened for your betterment. But
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we'll all experience a point in our life where we are pushed to do something that's
Mhm.
when we're going, so far against ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. True. I love how you said that. Yeah, true. And that would be your wake up call.
Yeah.
And this was mine. Yeah.
I love it. And I also love how you're able to get a lesson from that experience as well and just, put everything into a good perspective of, hey, this wasn't working for me and now that I've changed it, it's going to start getting better.
True. Yeah. And I think me being in this space of having so much rest, I think for the first time in my life, and 2028, yeah, that was the first time in my life I was able to slow down because I had no responsibilities. I didn't need to go to college. I didn't need to go to a job. I didn't need to be there for family or friends or for my partner. It was just me. And that space was very healing and it really, yeah, made me kind of who I am right now.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I remember I was pretty much forced like you
Mhm. Same
into
self.
just being more soft and not rushing because I was just always on go
Yeah.
go go, and then I lost my job. I
Mm.
lost my only form of stability, so that
Mm.
pushed me to just slow down, connect with my feminine energy, and
Mm.
just really start taking care of myself. Now I always had the idea that I was doing that, but
Mhm.
I was still in just in survival mode, and I was in hustle mode, just always trying to do better, and then I was just forced to slow down.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Yeah. What would have been, looking back, that period in your life, the biggest lesson that you take from took from that time?
I think the biggest thing that I carry with me today is not rush,
Mm.
because for me, rushing put me into a space where I was always feeling anxious and never feeling calm and just in my body and present. So I was just always focused on the next moment rather than just taking in the moment that I was presently or currently in. So I think
Mhm.
that's the biggest thing that I carry with me from that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And so so beneficial also, right? Because
Yeah,
not rushing anymore gives you the time to also appreciate what you have and where you are in your life.
exactly. Yes. And it's like if you can't appreciate what you have now, it's like, what is this all for? You're always just going to be living for the next moment and not really appreciate life as it's happening.
Oh, I love that one. Yeah, very true.
And so how would you define soft power and why is it so important?
How would I define soft power? Well, I think when it comes to soft power as just power, um, the soft power comes from safety, and especially safety from within our bodies. I feel that soft power is that grounded energy that just is, and I will um, make it more for women. I would say for women especially, soft
Mhm.
power is the ability for us to stay open, to be intuitive, listen to our intuition, and also to be emotionally available, so be vulnerable without losing ourselves. And to me, why this is so important and essential for a woman is that when a woman is able to regulate and connect to her feminine energy, that's when she becomes magnetic
Mhm.
because she no longer needs to chase or force or overperform, which are all masculine qualities, by the way.
Mhm.
She doesn't need to do that anymore to be valued. She just knows her power. It just is. And to me, that's what true soft power is.
I love that. It's like giving ourselves permission to lead without pushing or overexerting ourselves.
Yeah.
How do you help women trust that process?
Mm. I think it comes down to learning how to be with yourself and learning how to trust. And that being comes down to nervous system regulation, actually, learning how to um, feel the emotions that are going on in your body, learning that no matter what's going on in your life, you are always going to be okay. You're going to be fully supported and trusted and taken care of. And I feel that when we know that no matter what happens, we've been through everything in our life. So whatever's going to come on our path, we will get through it too. When you're there, I feel that you're able to access that type of power because you trust yourself, you trust God, you trust life, and you even trust the masculine outside of you.
Yeah. I love that because yeah, trust is so huge. And
It's
that's
key.
when I was
Yeah.
going through my tough time, that's something that I had to constantly remind myself is that
Mm,
I'm always taken care of.
yeah.
And whatever happens, I always come out on the better side of it. So
Yeah.
that was something I constantly had to remind myself. And that just helped me to learn how to trust the process better.
Yeah, yeah. And I also love the quote or the saying that says that God never gives you something that you are not,
Yes.
that you cannot handle, right? And
Yeah,
I truly believe that even with me when I go through moments that are still hard, because they still happen, I trust that. I just think, Urania, you would never be presented with something that you can't handle. You can do it.
exactly.
And so, yeah, yeah.
Beautiful. So, you talked a little bit about masculine energy, um, and how you're just more. Some of the qualities are going into your masculine energy. What could you explain the difference between strength through force, rather than strength through ease?
Hmm. Yeah. So in this context, I think strength to force would be the strength from the masculine, and the strength from ease is the strength from the feminine. Well, if I think about that masculine strength, um, oh no, let's start with the soft. I think soft is nice. If we talk about that soft strength, I feel the soft strength that comes from being and trusting, and it comes from the body. It's that calmness. It just is. And when you are when soft strength and you're tapping into that soft strength of yours, it's not about needing to prove or needing to push or needing to try to look powerful, which is the masculine. Soft power really comes from within you. It's just that deep presence. And I also think this has to do with your ability to be open and to be in touch, in tune with your intuition. Yeah, that's that softness. I feel when you talk about that strength through force, it's that pushing, trying to look powerful, trying to prove, to achieve, to go for it. And I often think that it's more connected to what other people think about us. Achieving all of these things in life, and um, it could be a bit more focused on getting that validation from others and being seen as powerful and having a higher status, for example, where that soft power truly is just you, just who you are, and you're okay and you feel safe. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the way you put that. And I think it's so easy to go for that push and force because society rewards that forceful energy.
Absolutely.
So it's very hard when you don't know how to just be at ease and be soft, and you have to learn that. But
Yeah.
so I think that starting off, it can be a little hard because society doesn't necessarily reward it. But once
Mm-hmm.
you do take a step back and step into your feminine energy and realize that you can attract anything that you want, you just have to step into that magnetism and embrace that magnetism so that way you can attract what you want.
Yeah, yeah, because that's how you become magnetic
Yeah.
from that place. Absolutely. And I love how you mentioned that society really expects us to be more in that masculine energy, not just men, everybody. We are living in a masculine world, masculine society, so we're living in. So many of us, we just live like this because we think that that's the only way, even though it's not who we are at the core or what feels good to us.
Right. But I love how you stated in the beginning of the episode, the universe has a funny way of throwing us back into alignment when we go too far, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. True. True. That's so true. Um, because you feel, I truly believe that you feel that something is off. And you can push, 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 but at one point you will be pushed back
Yeah.
to into alignment. And often it might be uncomfortable, but yeah, it comes down to that things do happen for a reason.
Yep.
And
Very
yeah.
true.
Hmm.
So you did talk about that you on with your content that you put out there, you did talk
Hmm.
about how you work on the external things as well as the internal things.
Hmm.
For as far as the external aspects of it, are there any daily rituals or practices to reset your nervous system?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Many actually. And I think one of the easiest things is reading, just slow breathing. And how you can do it is literally taking 8 seconds inhale, and then you make your exhale a bit longer. So you inhale for 8 and you exhale for 12. That already will just, you will feel it in your body, especially if you just do 3 rounds of that. Another one that I recommend that we do more of is going for a walk outside and not being on your phone. So no podcasts, no music, no phone calls, no social media, just you walking. And you will see that you are using your senses more. And you using your senses more actually helps you to regulate your nervous system and helps you to shift more to that parasympathetic state because you're activating your body. You're creating that mind and body connection again. And another one that I love is actually practicing yoga because yoga helps you to create a mind and body connection as well. And that's the connection that many women have actually lost, the connection with themselves and their body. So I would recommend those.
Nice. I
Yeah.
think that's such a simple but such a
Yeah.
powerful practice, and I love how attainable it actually feels. Like those sound. Well, I do those things, but I think that for many people that would sound something that's very easy and
Yeah, very doable, right? And also with this, I think it's important to um, have consistency more than you're going for the intensity of it. So doing it for 5 minutes a day is better than just doing it once a week for an hour. That can also help. Just having small moments, even if it's just 3 minutes, but giving yourself that time to regulate your nervous system on a daily basis.
Right. Yeah, and it's something I actually like to do before bed is just breathing exercises. I set a reminder on my phone, an hour before bedtime to just do some breathing exercises to help me wind
I love that. Yeah, that's so beautiful and powerful. Yeah, I love
down.
it. Love
Thank
that.
you.
Is there an app
And
you use in specific, or you use the timer on your phone?
oh, I actually do guided breath work on YouTube. So
Mm.
with my reminder app, I just set that reminder so a timer goes off, and then it has a link that I can click on and takes me right to the video.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, that's great. Great.
And what are some small steps someone can take today to reconnect with their softness?
Hmm. If I have to pick any of the ones that I just mentioned, I would go with overall slowing down. That's what it
Mm.
comes down to. Just slowing down. Slowing down when you're walking, slowing down when you're breathing, or slowing down when you're drinking your tea or your coffee. Giving yourself the permission to slow down. And that's often something that can be quite challenging for many women because, yeah, we were never given or never gave ourselves permission to slow down, as that is seen as someone who might be lazy or you're not being too serious. But slowing down would be the small action step I think you can take. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I love that because it sounds small, but it's so important because for me, I was just like I said, I was always in go, go, go mode. I didn't, necessarily want to stop doing anything. And then when I had free time, I felt so unproductive. I felt lazy and I was just like,
Right.
I should be doing something right now. And instead of just, sitting in the moment and relaxing and being present.
And I would add to this actually, because slowing down, okay, but if a person really wants to get started with this work, slow down and then take some deep breaths in and out, soften your shoulders and soften your jaw, and then ask yourself a simple question: what do I need right now? And I feel that when you ask yourself that question, because we often don't ask that, well, that could be the first time that you're literally learning how to listen to yourself and start to connect to yourself.
Yeah.
So
No,
that's,
I definitely agree because that's something that I think a lot of people don't take into account.
no,
And, that that's not something we're truly aware, we're taught to be aware of, just listening to ourselves.
no. We often listen more to other people than we would listen to ourselves and our bodies.
Exactly.
So yeah, absolutely. I would go with that one.
And how can someone notice when they're unconsciously in survival mode? Because for me, it took a very long time, I would say, to realize I was in survival mode, and I didn't realize like there were so many signs until I actually, took the time to slow down and listen to my body.
Hmm. I love this question and it's very interesting. I literally uploaded a video yesterday on YouTube with 6 signs you might be in survival mode without you even knowing. Yeah. So, a couple of the signs I mentioned in the video is, and these are signs that are they're not so obvious. So one could be, um, you are not replying to any of your messages because you might feel overwhelmed by them. Or another one could be you are very overly alert, constantly looking at things and people. And is someone saying something in a certain way? Do they mean something else by that? That's actually a sign of your nervous system not feeling safe and literally looking for things that might be wrong. The more obvious ones are feeling overwhelmed or overthinking. People pleasing is one, actually. and having difficulties to rest or just feeling emotionally numb. There are many, many signs actually. And these are a couple of them.
That's beautiful. And thinking back, I did see the notification last night of your video, so I'm definitely going to check that out after we're done here today.
Oh, thank you. Amazing. Yeah. And the thing is that, which I'm also saying in this video, that many of these things, such as always being available, being there for everybody, is being praised in our society. It's seen as great, right? Being overactive, always being there, being the person that is always available. So we just do it and we think, you know what, that's what's being accepted, that's what's being praised in our world. So that's what I'm going to do. But unconsciously, this is not benefiting us at all in the long run.
Right. No, that's so true. And it's very hard to go against societal norms when, even if it isn't serving you in the best way possible. So it's very hard, but I think that once you actually put the time aside to actually work on yourself, it becomes a lot easier as time goes on.
True. I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
So how does embracing soft power impact relationships? Because you did talk briefly about this when it comes to being too available, but also not being available when it comes to answering your messages when you are, in survival mode.
Mm-hmm. So how it helps in relationships being more soft?
Oh, yes. How would it impact the relationships?
Okay, let's see. So I think that when a woman is able to feel safe, I feel the moment you accept what safety feels like, you're no longer available for anything that does not feel good. And as a woman, when it comes to relationship, you will start to communicate more clearly because you would only be available for just that. And you will start attracting healthier partners and just healthy relationships overall. And with that, you stop abandoning yourself just to have a connection, just to feel validated. So I think when it comes to that softness and that soft power, it allows you to receive love and truly feel that love without chasing for it. It just is. That's what I think. Yeah, that's what I think.
That's very true. And I noticed that I was abandoning myself when it came to certain relationships, and
Yeah.
that was very hurtful to realize. But I love how you put it into words. It's just like it's not self-serving to act in
No,
that way when you are, in relationships that are unhealthy.
true. And you start to see, I also think that many of us, um, we could have picked partners in the past that felt okay, or we thought it was okay because we didn't really know what okay truly felt like. So many of us, we have to go through certain relationships to teach us a lesson. And sometimes these are lessons we don't want to learn. But they are for our benefit, right? It comes back to how we started this episode. Things happen in our life for a reason. And the moment you have the lesson and you accept it, you now know what feels good to you, and you stop tolerating anything that doesn't feel good, and you stop abandoning yourself. Yeah. I
Yes,
think
that
that's
is very true.
mm-hmm.
So how can releasing survival mode change how people respond to us?
Oh, that's a good one. So, yeah, I think so. I absolutely think so, actually. Because as a woman, right, you are in survival, you're constantly doing, you are trying to perform, you are definitely more in that chasing, doing mode. But when you are more regulated, you are more present, and you are more calm and embodied, people can feel it. You don't have to say a lot. It's just this energy that you have, that you embodied. And I think that from that point when you are regulated and you know how to regulate, because I'm not saying that you will never be dysregulated. We always have moments where we're just in that survival, but knowing how to switch back from that moment, you're no longer sending out these signals of you're tensed, you're fearful, or you are over efforting, trying so hard. From that point, when you have control of how you can switch and you become more regulated and you shift out of survival, from that point, the moment becomes more magnetic. She becomes more grounded, and she also becomes easier to be around, which makes her, makes her more magnetic. And people naturally want to hang out with you more when you're calm, when you're present, and when you're embodied. So yes, yeah, I agree. I think so.
Yeah, that's such a powerful truth. And it, it's like, yes, you do attract more, but it's also sometimes I think that you'll find people wanting you to go back to your old ways or be stuck in old dynamics. And
Yeah.
so it can be really important to use discernment when you are, putting yourself first and leaving survival mode.
I agree with that. True. True. Yeah.
So would you say that, because I know you talked about boundaries were really important for you, especially starting your feminine energy journey. How would you say, what am I trying to say? What's some advice you would give to someone to set boundaries with ease?
Mm. How you can set boundaries with ease. I think you need to truly understand first and foremost what feels good to you, what you want and what you don't want. So you need to know yourself. Often it feels like we have no boundaries because we don't even know when to set those boundaries or when someone is crossing our boundaries. So for a particular area in your life, let's say relationships, what do you accept in the relationship and what don't you accept? Getting clear on what's important for you. And when you have clarity on that and you know why it's so important for you to have that boundary, it becomes your boundary and you're going to embody it. So when from that place you're saying that, hey, I I work, so it could be a boundary. I don't have any phone calls after 9 p.m. I'm not comfortable with that. You're not saying it because you heard someone else say it. This is a boundary for you. This is who you are. So I would say embodying that boundary, really make it yours, and then saying it and stating it would come very natural. Yeah, that's how I think we should be setting our boundaries actually.
Yeah, no, it's very reassuring to hear you talk about that because
Mm-hmm.
I'm just noticing a lot of people, one, are not comfortable with setting boundaries, but a lot of people can be uncomfortable with you setting boundaries as well because it changes things. It forces change. But I did struggle at first with feeling guilty for setting boundaries. And I loved, it was an older video of yours, but I loved how you put um, it into perspective when you talked about having a garden and the
Yeah.
boundaries acting as a fence.
Oh,
That's something that stuck with me for the longest time. And I always reference back to that when I am having a hard time setting boundaries.
oh, that's so beautiful. That was one of I think my first or second year on YouTube that I made that video. I know exactly which one you mean. True. It's the garden. And I like to often use these analogies, especially of like nature and beauty, because it makes it so clear for us, right? We don't want anybody to, because I think I mentioned that the fence is the boundary you set for yourself. And if there is no fence around your garden, you just let people walk in and destroy all of your plants, your beautiful roses, your tulips, your sunflowers. You need to have a fence. And I think saying it like that really made it come alive for many women. And yeah, we need to protect what we love and we love ourselves. So yeah, set up your fence, set up the boundary.
Yes, I will forever be grateful for you putting that message out there because, like I said, it's something that stuck with me as soon as I heard it, and I keep it with me to this day. And I just reference back to it whenever I am having a hard time setting boundaries. And then that helps with the guilt as well. I don't normally feel guilt anymore just because I'm so used to, setting boundaries more clearly now, but it really helped with not feeling guilty.
Another thing I could say about the guilt part, because this is something I had to go through myself as well. Anyone is listening, by the way. If you are dealing with guilt when it comes to setting boundaries, something that can really help is just thinking of yourself as the 5-year-old version of you. So needing to protect her. Or if you have a child, right? Well, it's a little bit different. Look at yourself as a 5-year-old person and look at when you are setting that boundary, you are protecting her. Not even the adult version of you, but that little girl. And I think if you look at it like that, it becomes easier because it's so much easier for us to protect that small, innocent version of ourselves than often the older version of us. So that's something I wanted to put out there.
Beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. So important for us.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's so important for us. The boundaries is so, so important.
It is. It really is. It provides so much protection, and like I said, it's something that took practice, but now it's second nature. So boundaries are super important, and I will never, go back to my old ways to where I wasn't putting boundaries up with people.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah.
So back to survival mode. What struggles do you think women face when trying to step out of survival mode?
What struggles do women face? I think that when we're trying to get out of it, we're basically fighting against ourselves, which sounds really weird, but because we're used to doing a thing in a certain way, change can be uncomfortable, especially if everybody around you is still doing it that way. So struggles you could face could be maybe guilt. Another struggle could be not knowing, not knowing how, not knowing how to change, wanting to change, but not knowing how. And what I often see is not giving yourself enough grace and thinking that it needs to be, if I'm now switching from survival to softness, it needs to be a completely different, I need to live my life in a complete opposite way. And I don't believe that. I think baby steps bring you further along than completely wanting to change your whole life. You have been living your life a certain way for all of these years, for 20, 30, 40 years. So it's okay if you take it step by step. What I mentioned, consistency is more important than the intensity of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that those are very important parts. And maybe also, I think many of us, we think survival mode is just you slowing down, living that soft life, what we see a lot on social media. Mm-hmm. I also think it goes a bit deeper, as it is you are becoming a different version of yourself as well, or allowing a different version of yourself to be. You are being. And what happens when you are being is that you are feeling. In our masculine or in survival, we are doing. We are in our head. We're constantly on. When we are in softness, we are being and we are feeling. And with feeling, the emotions are going to come up. And these are often emotions that we have suppressed for a very, very long time. So I sometimes think that it can be a little bit romanticized living in softness, because if you have not been there for a while, it can actually be a little bit uncomfortable moving in there, because you're going to feel all the feelings, not just the sweets, the warm, but everything is going to come up. You need to be able to learn how to sit with those emotions as well and process them. So I think that might be the biggest struggle for many women.
Yes. And like you stated earlier, with that emotional numbness as a sign of survival
Hmm.
mode, that's huge because it's all of the emotions that you've suppressed in the past coming up at once. So you have no choice but to feel numb
Yeah.
sometimes. So
Yeah,
it's huge. But I love how earlier you stated, just getting back to that body, that mind and body connection, because that can really make a big difference.
absolutely, absolutely. And I think all that's why you see many women starting their inner work more, starting their healing journey more, because that happens when you start becoming soft and you start to learn and listen to yourself more. Things are gonna come up, and you're giving yourself permission and grace to process that. I think that's beautiful.
Beautiful. So how do you handle moments when old patterns do creep back in? So I know you said that taking baby steps is big, but what if we find ourselves reverting back to our old
Hmm.
ways?
Yeah. Well, I would always say compassion and grace, first of all. And we need to understand that, yes, we are aware of when we are in survival, but we are still human. So we will be having moments in our life that we would be getting back into that pattern, because that pattern actually kept you safe, or at least that's what it felt like for a very long time. So instead of judging, slowing down would be the best thing to do. Reconnecting to the body would be the best thing to do. And also choosing to observe and not respond immediately. Just with the emotions that we just talked about. What is really going on? What is this even telling me? What am I feeling? And I actually think this is part of the healing in the inner work. And when it comes to healing in inner work, it's not that you're never going to fall back or never going to slip. It's more about knowing how to come back from that. So grace and compassion, I think. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So that is all that we have for this episode today. But
Mm-hmm.
before we go, if someone could take one small action today to reconnect with their softness,
Mm-hmm.
at least just one thing, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to ask themselves to sit down, to take some deep breaths, and ask themselves, what do you need? What do I need right now? And often what you're going to get is something that can help you to reconnect to your softness. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
that's such
only
a
you
powerful
know,
question.
only you know what you really need. And
Yeah,
by giving yourself that question, you can answer that for yourself.
yeah. I remember the first time I did that. It felt a little silly at first because
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, I already know what I need and what I don't need. But when you
Mm-hmm.
actually sit down in a quiet space and just really tune in with your body, or at least just try to tune in with your body,
Yeah,
the answer will come to you.
absolutely. And I think what you just mentioned is the difference. Often we think we know what we need from our head,
Hmm.
but we want to feel what we need more from our body. And by taking the
Exactly.
first moment to sit and to regulate, you can literally listen to what your body is saying. And it can be as the other time I did that, I was craving this particular soup that my mother made. I was like, oh yeah, okay, let's see if I can make it. So it can be as silly as that.
Yeah. And before we go, what's the ultimate reward of embracing the feminine reset?
Mm, I think coming home to yourself,
Mm.
and with that, trusting yourself.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that way you could just embrace being your authentic self and everything just feels at ease at that point.
Yeah, and it's from that space that we actually attract and manifest the things that we want in our life, when we trust
Mhm.
and when we are connected to who we are. Yeah.
That's such a powerful statement because
Mm.
we will sit here. Well, I know for me, I try to just manifest so many things, and I was getting frustrated about my manifestations not coming in, and then it really just took me connecting with my body and having that mind-body connection and just really slowing down and being present, embracing my feminine energy and realizing I'm not going to attract any of my manifestations if I don't settle down and calm down and stop forcing things to happen.
True. That is so, so true. And the funny part, that's actually the most difficult thing for many of us to do because we are so used to doing and going after everything and
Yes.
taking those actions. Not to say that you cannot take aligned actions, of course, but I think that trusting and that's not forcing is
Mm-hmm.
is that really sweet spot in order for your manifestations to come. And there's more to that, of course, but yeah, trusting a lot.
Yeah, so I loved our conversation today, Urania. It was a
Me
pleasure
too.
speaking with you. Now, before we go, where can listeners connect with you outside of the
Mm.
podcast?
Yeah, so I upload weekly videos on YouTube. I have for the past 6 years, I think. So my YouTube is called Urania Nelom. I think you can put in the you'll put it in the show notes, right?
Yes.
And my TikTok is the same name, and my Instagram too. And I have actually opened a membership 2 months ago for women who want to live more from their feminine, and it's called the Feminine Lifestyle Circle, where we have monthly calls and just practices for us to embody our feminine in our everyday life.
Perfect. Okay, yes. And like you said, I will put that into the show notes. So
Amazing.
that way, anybody that wants to reach out to you or connect with you further outside of the podcast, they definitely
Mhm.
can do so. And I will also link your podcast in the show's notes as well. So that way, listeners can find out more about what you have to say about these things, especially when it comes to feminine energy.
Thank you so much. Okay, thank you.
Of course, and thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today. Again, I loved this conversation, and going into this, I was just super excited. So I'm glad we were able to sit down and record this episode today. But I hope everyone listening today feels inspired to step out of survival mode after listening to this and trust themselves and embrace their soft embodied power. And I also want you guys just to remember that strength doesn't have to be hard. It can flow through ease. So again, thank you, Urania. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Of